filming the video.
It only took us 6 months.
It only took us 6 months.
It was me. I was insecure about it.
Do you want to tell him? I'll let you tell him.
No, you tell him. You tell him to start.
Okay.
And then I'll chime in.
Okay. So, Jordan, if you can't tell from the title of this video, quit his job.
I didn't quit. I scaled back.
Well, you were consulting for a company and then you told them that you weren't going to be working there anymore and you were working there full time, so he's having a hard time accepting it.
It was pretty much full time. It wasn't full time. I wasn't full-time employee, but yeah, okay. I scaled back okay, I quit everything else I was doing. It's so hard for me even to verbalize it.
I know, babe, I know. So Jordan comes from a very successful background in startups. Do you want to tell him or do you want me to?
You tell him.
Okay, so before I met you, he had gone through a startup acquisition. So the company he was working with was bought by Mercedes-Benz. When I met him, he was the chief marketing officer for a tech company in Austin. He took me to a company party on our first date, and all these 50, 60-year-old men were coming up to me like, oh man, this guy saved the company. I don't know where we'd be without him. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Started his own startup, and I don't know, you've just done a lot. So I guess
it's hard for me to say that I quit anything. I am a Instagram husband now.
Okay, but that
no,
term,
I know.
We've been talking about for a while that in May, when we got married, we would possibly start working together. And the main reason is because I had a ton of ideas for 2019, but I'm creative, guys. Jordan builds systems and processes and hires people and sometimes fires people. I'm like a one-woman show, and me and Cassidy, my girl. I had a lot of really, cool ideas for 2019, but I didn't know how to build them. So all last year I was like, come on, babe, come to the dark side. Come work with me on some projects.
And I was so resistant to it because I was just I don't know, everything that you said, even when you were recapping, not so much anymore, even when you were recapping my resume or whatever, my identity was so wrapped up in being that guy. So I was very resistant to being hey, I'm gonna work,
right,
with my wife on, something that she started. If I would have started it and we worked together, it would have been fine. But it was because you started it, it was such a silly ego thing.
Well, and it's something that I started, I started getting into the space 5 years ago, but whenever we got married, you guys were so welcoming with Jordan. Not only did y'all embrace him in the content, but he was really inspired. A lot of times after we'd film a video or we'd take a picture, he'd be like, okay, I have another idea. And I feel like he genuinely liked being in this space.
Well, I liked being in the space because, think about it. For our honeymoon, we got to travel together. We took 3 honeymoons.
He likes the perks.
and we got to travel together. And then when you travel together, it's I want you to experience the happiness when you get a good Instagram, and it's I get invested, and I'm okay, I'm an achiever too, let's make this awesome. Why don't I go over 3 major milestones over the past 6 months of what I've learned along the way. So,
and this could be helpful to any other,
yeah,
not just men, but also anybody finding their identity in things outside of.
So what I've learned, and I'll explain how I realized that I learned this, was I'm not alone as a man or a husband in what I'm struggling with. I think that the more men that I've opened up to, and
which is hard.
It was so hard
for men to open up to other men. I used to be babe, you should reach out to so and so, or you should talk about this. No, I'm
fine. I had a really good way of being a social chameleon, so I would tell people the best parts of me and keep them focused on that, and avoid the plague, all of the questions of oh, so what do you do? I would just I was so good at maneuvering out of those questions. All of those silly things that I let get to my head, other men are struggling with. I started a podcast called the Instagram Husband Podcast, and now I'm able to talk to people Thomas Berolsheimer, I always mess up his name, but he's married to Julia, who started Gal Meets Glam. So she went from blogger to selling it in Nordstrom. I met
and his podcast is linked down below.
Yeah, so I met Ted Rad, who's married to Dress Up Buttercup. I just started talking to these other guys who really were kind of like a good example for me of like, hey, it's not demeaning to take your wife's picture. It's actually like serving her, and like they had really good marriage advice and meaning behind like working together.
And I love that point too, because it's like, I think the first thing you learn to like tighten a bow is that like you're not going through this alone, and you don't have to go through it alone, and like you can talk to community and open up and be vulnerable and find other people that can kind of help you go through things that you're struggling with.
The second thing is, it took me a really long time. In fact, I don't think that, like, I had a breakdown like a month ago, I think, because I felt like I was just...
Okay, by the way, a male breakdown is very different than a female breakdown.
It's like a male breakdown. I was just like staring out. You remember I was just like staring out.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? He just gets quiet.
I just got really quiet. But I had a breakdown because I felt like I wasn't really, like, no one knew me because I was hiding so many things about my life. And when he says
no one knew me, you mean like nobody knew like the real... It's not like nobody knew you on the internet.
No, it's like I just started being open and honest with like community, like whether that be like our church community. And I just kind of for a second like let down my guard. And I was like, hey, like, why am I holding myself to this standard that I have to be this like Mark Zuckerberg tech entrepreneur? Like, who is putting that standard on me? Like, I'm okay as like just Jordan, like where God has me.
Transparency
key. Like actually does like free you from
and to wrap it in a bow again, I feel like whenever you start being vulnerable and transparent about what you're going through in life, like you find a lot of freedom from these things that you feel like grip you down or hold you down every single day. And it's like once you let go of that, you can experience all this freedom and really go after the things and find your identity and things that actually do matter.
So once I did that, the third thing that was really cool is I think it's really hard to do something new, but like if you're gonna do something new, you're gonna take on so much hate, and like people aren't gonna understand. And
but
like,
it's also gonna make you a stronger person.
It's gonna make you a stronger person.
If you get stuck in the same rut over and over, then you're not growing if you're not challenging yourself.
But you've always been really good at that. Like you've been able to put yourself out there on the internet and be like, hey, here's who I am. And I was always like, I can never do that. So once I was like honest with myself, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm gonna just like own this whole like Instagram husband thing, and I'm gonna flip the script. And if it's like a derogatory term in some people's minds, like I'm gonna make it cool.
And you know what? It is going to be like, that's a thing that we have to accept. Like whenever you put yourself out there, people are not going to like it. You are going to have haters. Like I bet you will have hate in the comments of this video. Like it's just, that's gonna happen. Nobody's gonna understand or be passionate about your life like you are, but that's why you just gotta do you, boo-boo. You can't listen to the haters and you can't listen to all the negativity, because you know what you're passionate about, you know what God is calling you to, like nobody else does. So, mic drop.
By giving up like my own, ambitions or like selfish desires or anything like that, like in a weird way, this sounds so cheesy, I don't even know if I can say it.
Just say it.
It's like, in a weird way, being an Instagram husband has taught me more about being a husband than it has about being like a good Instagrammer.
Oh, I like that.
And I think that that's what's also uncovered on most of the episodes in the podcast too.
So we have a lot of fun stuff planned in 2019. The first thing I want to talk about though is Jordan's Instagram Husband podcast. He's interviewed some amazing Instagram husbands, from Dress Up Buttercup to Gal Meets Glam's husband, Southern Draw.
Got some reality TV husbands.
Sassy Red Lipstick. Oh, his list is insane. So I'll put the link to his podcast down below. It's a really good listen, whether you're driving in the car or working out. Whatever it is, you'll love it. Also, we are going to be launching the Sassy Club really soon. I'm so excited, so stay tuned. I'll keep y'all posted on my Instagram and on the Facebook group. And then also, we have a product that we'll be working on that should be launching in 2019. Digital products and actually like a real product. So those are some of the things that y'all can be expecting in 2019. We just want to say thank y'all so much for supporting us, supporting our marriage, loving us. Honestly, we could not do this without y'all. Like literally, we could not. So we just really appreciate you guys. And yeah, I guess I'll talk to y'all later.